Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, June 2nd, 2013. Oh, the Jeanne Cooper tribute show. Wasn't that just heartbreaking? It was hard to watch. I knew it was gonna be Tuesday's show, so I was like, all right, I had to prepare myself to even watch it. I'm just gonna get my Kleenex box and I'm just gonna sit there with my tissues in hand because I knew it was gonna be a tearjerker. It started out with Jess Walton doing a beautiful intro, and no one else could have done it the way she did it. She was the most appropriate person to do it. She shared the final scene with Jeanne Cooper, and it started out with her just looking up those Chancellor steps where Catherine walked off into the night, and Jess talked about how this was her set. This was her home away from home, and just talking a little bit about her relationship with her and her career with the show. And Jess Walton did mention that they are planning to write Catherine's death into the show. So that's something I imagine we're going to be seeing within the next couple of months. And I mean, this tribute was so hard to watch. It was so heartbreaking. I can only imagine how difficult it's going to be us dealing with the death of Catherine Chancellor and how that's going to impact the show. It's all going to be very sad. There's just nothing good about it other than that I really did feel like this tribute was a celebration of her life and of her career, and it was wonderful to see that. Y&R started off showing, I think, some extended clips from an interview that Jeanne had given on the 40th anniversary of the show. So it was some footage that we had seen before, but then I just about lost it when they transitioned. I mean, I did lose it. When they transitioned into the intro montage of all of Jeanne Cooper's various title cards throughout the history of the show, from the pencil sketches to the totally cheesy, floating into your face 90s version of the intro. I mean, everything, it was all there, and it was just such a joy to relive those intros. I mean, we've seen them so many times. You watch them every time you see the show, and it was really cool to see them all just, a collage of it for Jeanne. It was just wonderful, and I was surprised to see that the family came on right after that. Corbin Bernstein and Jeanne's two other children, and grown children, but they came on to give a little bit of an intro, and I just thought it was very brave of them to be there because, I mean, on top of having to lose your mother, someone who you're very, very close with, to have to go out and put a public face on, I think would be very exhausting. And I thought it was wonderful that they did it. It was incredibly kind of them to take the time to help us through our grief as fans of Jeanne's, and it was just very cool. I mean, I think in so many ways, after having watched the tribute, I realized fully how she gave her life to us. She came into the set and did it every day because she wanted to provide us with something that we could sink our teeth into, on this show, something that we could relate to. And I mean, it's so rare that we would get to see someone's career and follow it on a daily basis for 40 years. I mean, can you think of any other genre where that's even possible? Most shows don't last 40 years, let alone retain their cast. So the fact that we could see her from when she started all the way up until where she ended was so rare and beautiful. And they, had shown quite a few black and white photos of her career even before she came on to Y&R. And truly, Jeanne Cooper was a seasoned actress before she ever came on to Y&R. And so even at the beginning of her career there, you could tell there was just such an intelligence there. And I mean, for crying out loud, I've been watching the show for 20 years, and I still feel like I didn't even get to see the best of maybe even what she had to offer. I mean, I just look back at those early scenes, and she just had this way about her that you just understand immediately why she was such a draw to the audience. It was so beautiful. I thoroughly enjoyed all of the cast roundtables. Y&R had set up maybe, I don't know, 4 or so separate small kind of focus groups, I guess, talking about Jeanne. And there was all of the usual suspects, of course, Melody Thomas Scott, Eric Braeden, Doug Davidson, Laura Lee Bell, Trisha Cast, Josh Morrow, Daniel Goddard, all of the guys were there. I mean, everybody was there. Tracy Bergman, Christian LeBlanc, Greg Ricart, Elizabeth Hendrickson, all of the characters, all of the people, all of the actors who had pretty much daily interactions or regular interactions with Catherine's character or with Jeanne Cooper. And there was quite a few sort of surprises thrown into the mix too. Heather Tom was there, who originated as an adult, originated the role of Victoria. Tucker was back. Stephen Nichols, he was able to discuss his interactions with her over the last couple of years. John McCook was there, Eric from The Bold and the Beautiful. And I guess that was one thing I wanted to ask too, is was there a lot of since I haven't been a Bold and the Beautiful watcher, were there a lot of crossovers? Because I also saw at the end of the Bold and the Beautiful episode that they did just a mini tribute to her. So was John McCook on Young and the Restless, or did Jeanne Cooper do a crossover or something? So if you guys know what the relationship was there, they're sister soaps, so I imagine they're filmed on somewhat of a close set. I imagine they're filming in a close location, so maybe it was just sort of social interaction. They'd come into contact with one another. But who else was there? Brock was there. There was some discussion about how the nickname Duchess came into being. I'm sorry, I don't know the actor who plays Brock's name. I apologize. But Jerry Douglas as John was there. So there was a lot of faces that aren't regularly on the show that we were able to see. I mean, the whole thing, it was so appropriate too. I loved that they had a table in the middle of the discussion that had a bunch of her jewelry. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. A bunch of her jewelry on the table, sprawled out, because she was famous for her jewelry. She always was dripping in jewels. And Peter Bergman even had a line where he mentioned that she was kind of famous for bringing up that hand. There'd be a close-up on her, and she would just, in such a signature way, bring up that hand to reveal whatever jewel she was wearing on her hand. And, I wish that there was like some kind of genius person who could do a montage or a collection of all the various times throughout Y&R where Catherine brought up the hand. I would thumbs up that video times a million. I would favorite and watch it a million times if there was just a collection of, through the years, the hand. The jewelry, I was surprised by that. I guess I wasn't expecting it. It was just something small, but her jewelry meant something to her, and it was also kind of a morbid reminder to me. It hit so close to home, this whole thing, but it's like I remember when my grandmother died a few years back, and, I had told you guys about that. I remember having to go through the jewelry, and it just, reminds you that whether you're dripping in jewels or whether you've got nothing on, you don't take any of that stuff with you when you go. So, death is, in some ways, the great equalizer. In many ways, in every way, the great equalizer. But there was so much laughter too. It was sad, but there was a lot of levity, and I feel like Joshua Morrow as Nick, he kind of came onto the set in the 90s as a young guy, and he told this story about how I had to laugh. Jeanne Cooper came right up to him and kind of grabbed his face and said, "You're gonna get a lot of girls," and kind of smacked him a little, like, "Don't be stupid." That sounds like her. I can see her doing it and saying it. It was so true to character. But you know, there was a lot of tears too. There were a couple people that broke up. Elizabeth Heinrichsen had a hard time talking. I mean, everybody did. One of the most shocking, I think, moments of the entire tribute special was Eric Braeden trying to talk about Jeanne. And I mean, I'm telling you guys, this is probably one of the first and only times I've ever seen Eric Braeden speechless. He actually couldn't say what he wanted to say because he was welled up with tears, and this is obviously someone that he had a great respect for, and I had a great respect for the Catherine Victor relationship. I think it's obvious that Jeanne and Eric probably had a chemistry that, I mean, it was obvious on screen. They were close in real life, and they were close on the show, and the same is for Melody Thomas Scott. She did an awesome job of holding it together. She brought a photo that, you know, it was such a genuine photo. They both, that had them both in it, and they both were just smiling so genuinely. There was a lot of people there. Murphy was there, the guy that plays Murphy anyway, he had a lot of nice things to say, and it's odd because I had gotten the impression recently that maybe Jeanne Cooper didn't like him, or she didn't like the storyline. She said something in one of the 40th anniversary interviews that just made me think, I can't remember. She said something like, "Just leave that poor man at home," or something. I think she didn't, maybe she just didn't enjoy the storyline, but it was nice to see Murphy again. As you know, I have a soft spot for him, but I also thought, well, we're probably not going to be seeing much more of him now. I don't know what they're going to end up doing with the set. I don't know if they're going to have somebody else move in there, but I can't imagine that Murphy's going to be a character that's going to stick around. Although, I hope that we're able to keep that connection with her through him. And even as much as Esther, the character, is so irritating to me in her little French maid outfit, looking back at some of the flashbacks, you know, of Kate Linder and when she was a little younger and she was giving birth in the middle of a storm to to the character that would become Chloe, she had a real sweetness about her, and I had forgotten that. I was watching at that time, I believe. And, you know, even just looking back, I appreciated her even more than I expected to. I mean, there were a bunch of amazing flashbacks. Lauren, or Tracy Bergman, had talked about her favorite scenes as Lauren that she had shared with Jeanne, and she said it's probably cliche, but the most memorable to me are my first scene and my last scene with her. And the first scene was so good. That was one of those scenes where I thought, gosh, I just wish I could go back in time and watch all of the Y&Rs, or I wish Y&R would release a DVD set or something, because there was this scene between Catherine and Lauren where Lauren's being a little bit of a business diva, and Catherine's saying, "Oh, maybe you are a little bit like me, or maybe you remind me of a younger me." And the delivery for both of them was so cool. I wish I could see more of it. And I absolutely feel like that last scene between Lauren and Catherine, I knew it immediately. As soon as Tracy Bergman mentioned it, I said, "Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about," because it was memorable. It was, again, as she had come to be known for, Catherine telling Lauren how it is, just dropping a truth bomb down, just saying, you know, "I'm not going to tell you necessarily what you want to hear, but here it is." And I appreciated that about her, and Tracy Bergman did too. But everybody had wonderful stories of how well they interacted with her and how they felt a special connection with her. And Trisha Cass, who plays Nina, had said, "The moment I met her, I knew that I was never going to be able to be anything other than exactly who I am." And I know that feeling, and I appreciate that feeling. It's sometimes you meet someone who's so special and so authentic that you know you're not going to be able to pull anything over on them, and you just know that that's how she was. Cass said she demanded that of me. She demanded me to be myself. And Peter Bergman had said everybody who had any type of interaction with her felt in some way like they were special to her. Everybody got that feeling like they were special to her. And Doug Davidson talking about how she took the time to go to the hospital when he and his wife were having a difficult labor, having their child, and she was there with flowers. And Billy Miller talking about Jeanne calling him up on the phone and when he was sick, making sure that he was okay and he had enough food, and she cared about people. And did you guys know that she co-founded a drug rehab? Peter Bergman mentioned that. I had no idea about that. I don't even know what rehab it is. If anybody has any more information on that, I'd be interested to know. I suppose I could just look it up. But what a wonderful woman. I wish that I was more like her. I really do. She just drew people in. And I know my instinct sometimes is to push people away. And she lived such a life of great example that I wish I was more like her. That was one of probably the biggest takeaways that I got from the whole thing, was like, this is a woman who loved and was loved. And it's so beautiful. I think there's a lot to learn from her. I did identify with the fact that she is apparently a groin grabber. She had mentioned it in her book, I guess, but Greg Ricart pulled out the book. What's the name of the book? Something like Not Young But Still Restless, I want to say. But he read a paragraph from the book where she talked about how she likes to grab the men's. And I get that from her. She reminds me so much of my grandmother. Like, my grandmother loved men. I mean, she's 90 years old. She loved men. And I think Jeanne had that same quality. Just, Greg had mentioned, apparently, she'd gone through, like, she goes on the set and you just get goosed by her. Like, she's probably just going about her business and then she just, wants to grab a groin or a butt. And I totally identify. There's nothing I love more than grabbing a butt. Just with that element of surprise. It's just so gorgeous, so fabulous. I love her so much. Gosh. I think watching that final scene again was really hard, because now going back and watching it, you understand the context. You understand that it was her final scene, and seeing her walk up the stairs, and her last line was, she said, I think I'll manage, good night. And I think Jess Welton had mentioned that was ad-libbed. That wasn't even in the script. She just needed to say good night. And I guess my question to you guys is, do you think she knew? I mean, it's all speculation, I'm sure, but going back and watching the scene now, I can't help but ask myself, do you think she knew that was the end? They did finally release the cause of death, which was complications due to COPD, which is a lung disorder, or it's a category of lung disorders. So she must have been having trouble breathing. I think that she was a smoker. Corbin Bernstein, her son, had put out a message on Twitter finally talking about what ultimately was her disease. And he had said, if you smoke, you need to stop smoking. And maybe even through this event, maybe it'll click with somebody that, what smoking actually does to you. I mean, she seems like the kind of person that still had a list of things to do. Like, she could have kept going on, and I think that's why she fought so hard toward the end. And who knows, maybe if she wasn't a smoker, she could have got another 5 or 10 years. I mean, I don't know. You never know. Somebody could smoke all their life and live to be 100, and someone who could not smoke and, die young. So, I mean, it's just, I think that had to be a really hard way to go, and I think that was probably hard for her family to watch. But, it was a good tribute. She's really going to be missed. I'm so, not looking forward to seeing those the death of Catherine scenes, even still at the point we are in the story now, Kane will mention her, and it's hard to believe that I'm never going to hear her voice, you know, that she's just not going to be there. She's always been there, or that she's not going to sit down with her little teacup. And actually at the end of the show, the end of the tribute show, they had a picture of her sitting there with some of her jewelry and one of her teacups sitting there. Oh, I'm going to cry. Oh, what a wonderful woman. She's going to be missed. Sharon knows everything about Nick's question of Summer's paternity, so she's naturally curious. The fact that Summer's paternity is in question could have monumental impact on her life. It did back in the day. Cassie's death and Summer's birth were two events that had ripple effects through Genoa City, and you'd have to be unfeeling to wonder how that might affect your life. And I don't think Sharon has any kind of negative intentions. I think she genuinely feels nostalgic for the past and a genuine curiosity of what if Summer is not Nick's child, what does that mean for me? What could that mean for not only what did it mean for my past, what will it mean for my future? And she has an appointment with her therapist this week, and she straight up tells the therapist that she believes things would have been absolutely different if Phyllis had not gotten pregnant. And I think she might be right. I mean, it's something you can't ignore, but Sharon now has to go through this process of dealing with her emotions in relation to this, and she wants to talk to Nick about it. She wants to comfort him. She wants to offer him advice and be his friend. And Sharon says to the therapist, "Do you think I should do that?" And the therapist says, "Well, let's back up here. Why would you want to be doing it? Is it really that you want to be there for Nick, or are you looking for some kind of reconciliation within yourself?" And I do think it's a little bit of both. Sharon is reaching for something right now, as she's had the total blow off from Adam, and her kids are grown. She needs something. So she, of course, as she usually does, she goes and she ignores the doctor's advice, and she tries to talk to Nick, tries to reach out to him. I don't even know why she goes to the therapist when she never listens to she never takes the therapist's advice. And Nick is at the hospital trying to he's turning in the paternity test in order to get the results. And what do you know, the diagnostics lab is right across the hall from where Sharon's getting her therapy session, and they bump into each other, and she starts trying to say, "If you need somebody to talk to, I'm here." I think Nick hears it. I think Nick is not aware that maybe Sharon is wanting to go back. I don't think Nick is necessarily wanting to go back. I think he's spinning his wheels a little bit right now, trying to reconcile his lie, or his potential lie, a lie that he let himself believe, and on top of that, dealing with a teenage daughter and being afraid that she's headed down the same path as the daughter who died. So Phyllis actually suggested to Nick that maybe instead of trying to punish Summer, maybe what they should do is try to talk frankly with her about what had happened with Cassie, because Cassie died before Summer was born. She never had any contact with her half-sister. So they decide that maybe a little bit of an intervention might be something that could help Summer. And Sharon becomes involved. I don't know, I can't remember how or who asked Sharon to become involved, but it was her daughter, and maybe hearing the story of the tragedy could make an impact on Summer. And there was a moment, though, where Phyllis and Phyllis and Sharon were talking to each other and almost talking about separate things. Like, Phyllis was trying to talk to Sharon about this quote-unquote intervention, and Sharon thought maybe Phyllis knew about the paternity thing and was kind of like, Sharon almost spilled the whole thing. She almost revealed what she knew. She's got to keep that really, really tight-lipped, but a lot of feelings, good and bad, are being brought to the surface by all of this. What's going on with Summer, Cassie's death, and everything. And it's something that, it's kind of nice to see everyone working out together. It's almost weird to see Phyllis and Nick and Sharon in the same room together, knowing everything that unfolded, back in the, what was it, early 2000s when Cassie died and Summer was born. But they all sit down and Phyllis reads a letter from Daniel. I think Summer has at certain points been very, very close with Daniel. So reading this email that Daniel had written about the night that Cassie died and how he has to live with that for his whole life, I think that did hit home for Summer. She at first was a little bit put off, feeling maybe a little bit even ganged up on. She's still so very immature, saying, I'm sorry that you guys feel bad, but, I'm going to live my life and it's not the same situation, when it is a similar situation and there is a lesson to be learned there. Good Lord, Phyllis and Nick should have been having these types of conversations with Summer all along, because as far as I'm concerned, she is a huge brat. She's an immature brat. Part of me wishes she would sleep with Kyle just so she'll have that horror at realizing that she slept with her brother. I know that's terrible, I'm sorry. But I do think that Summer is going to end up being Jack's child, and it's going to have incredible ramifications for everyone or for specific lives in Genoa City. Jack's going to learn that he has a child. Phyllis is going to flip out at this revelation. It might very well put Sharon and Nick back to square one. And also, I read a casting update that Cameron Grimes is returning to the show. Now, it specifically said it's not just a 1 or 2 episode kind of thing. Like, she's coming back. I don't know if it's for an extended period. I don't know anything about the condition other than it's happening. But I really think it's more than just a Cassie's ghost thing. Cameron Grimes has come back as Cassie's ghost a couple of times, but my instinct says there's a twist that's coming. I don't know if it's going to be short-term or long-term, but I wonder if somehow the writers are going to spin this that Cassie never died, or if they're going to try to say that she has a twin sister, or I have no idea. Or maybe even bringing her back as a totally new character and having her interact, and maybe somehow that will bring Nick and Sharon back together. But it does seem like the winds of change are blowing, and maybe Nick and Sharon are on the path to a reunion. I don't know about you guys, but I feel surprisingly uninterested by what's going on with Newman Enterprises, the Adam versus Victoria feud. I feel like I should be into it. I love a business storyline. I love power struggles, but for some reason it just feels so convoluted to me. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Who's gonna come out on top? I assume it's gonna be Adam, and all it is just alienating Victoria. Victor, it is appalling the way he plays his children off of one another. And at this point, he's playing them both. He's trying to give Adam what he wants by being a dad. Adam's actually calling him dad, and I think Victor knows that that's what Adam wants deep down. And yet, on the other hand, he's trying to alienate Victoria. Victor is acting like he's on Adam's side, and that Victoria is being unreasonable, telling her she's not a team player. And I guess that's true to some extent. I mean, Victoria did conveniently forget about the fact that Adam was the one that saved Johnny's life. He saved Chelsea, who was going into labor, and he delivered Johnny. Adam took a bullet for Victor, and I remember quite specifically Victoria going into Adam's hospital room and trying to make nice with him, and now all of a sudden, maybe this is part of why I'm not interested. It just seems like all of a sudden, she's really suspicious of Adam's motives, understandably, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if she's worried about the legacy of her children. If you want to work at Newman, but what's the point of the power struggle? You could start your own business. Why is Victoria so concerned that Victor can't take care of himself? It feels, at the end of the day to me, like all it really is a battle for Daddy's affection. Victoria doesn't like that now all of a sudden Adam is the golden child when he's done all of these bad things. And yes, that's true. I see her point. But get a life. You know, she's got this baby making thing going on. That's what she wants. She wants to have a baby, and she's got a full house already. She's got children, and I don't know when the Reed thing is going to come up. Reed was supposed to come stay with them, and JT had called her all suspiciously and said, can Reed come stay with you? And that hasn't happened yet. But Victoria's got a lot of kids to deal with, and she needs to figure out what she wants to do with her life and with her career. And there was a scene where after many, many go-arounds again between Victor and Adam and Victoria, Victoria decides that she's done with it, and she triumphantly announces that Adam can have Newman Enterprises. She chooses Billy. Okay, if that's your choice, that's fine, but it didn't seem like you wanted Billy. You wanted to go working at Newman Enterprises so that you could keep an eye on Adam. You know, it was just like, whatever. She needs to go home and keep an eye on her husband. And Nikki is the only one that seems to get it. Nikki and Nick seem to be the ones that get it a little bit more. You know, Victoria needs to have a life that is not defined by her job, that's not defined by Newman Enterprises, not defined by her father. She is very consciously, I think, like kind of has been choosing business. I mean, yes, she should be able to have it all, but she's not doing a very good job of balancing it. And Victor revealed, I don't even know if this is his intention, but he said that he thinks that Victoria spending time at home with Billy is what's going to make her realize that he's a chump, or that maybe he's not good enough for her. And maybe that's true. I think sooner or later she's going to catch on about this gambling stuff, and Billy is catching her in a lie as well. Billy found out this week that Chelsea is the one who's carrying Dylan's baby, and he goes to Victoria to give her this little slice of news, and she kind of tries to act like well, this is a big surprise, but Billy guesses that Victoria knows about Chelsea's pregnancy, and furthermore, way more about it than she's letting on. Adam was really hilarious this week at the athletic club. It was Adam and Nick and Dylan and Billy all in the workout room, and essentially Adam was egging everyone on. Everybody's kind of got a beef with Adam, and there's just tension all around. Like, these four guys have tensions between each other, but the one thing they have in common is that they all can't stand Adam. And the other thing is, like, I'm sitting there, I'm watching Adam and Nick and Dylan and Billy in the room, and I'm thinking, okay, everyone who hasn't slept with Chelsea, please raise your hand, because it would only be Nick. All of these other guys have had her, and, like, I can't even believe it. For a new character on the show, she's pretty slutty. Oh, they all are. Even the men and the women. But Adam loves egging them on, and he loves finding their weaknesses and exploiting it and trying to make them feel bad about it. And I thought Billy was the only one that was pretty silent, because Adam's blackmailing him over the whole gambling thing. I knew it at the time. That was a bad idea. But Billy allowed Adam to have this ammunition against him. And other than that, it was Adam and Dylan obviously have this tension over Chelsea's child. And Adam and Nick even talked a little bit about each other. And, you know, Nick is Adam's brother, and he knows enough about him to know where his soft spots are in return. So Adam started poking at Nick, saying, well, you're just jealous of me because I'm at the head of Newman Enterprises. Well, no, not really. Nick has been there, done that, and he realized that wasn't the life for him. And he even said, I chose family. Can you say the same? And that is what Adam's weakness is at this point. He said out loud this week that he is still in love with Chelsea, and he wants to, he wanted that baby to be his. And there was actually a kind of a sweet scene between Jack and Adam. Jack had come to visit Adam and said, you know, I've proven myself as being trustworthy to you, I think, so if there's something you want to talk to me about, I'll be glad to hear it. And Adam does reveal that he loves Chelsea, but he says, I love Chelsea, but I can't risk Victor to have her. Like, I can't risk losing my father to have Chelsea, as if he needed to choose. I don't know where that choice came in. I mean, Victor does always kind of make his children choose, but Victor seemed like he kind of liked Chelsea as opposed to whoever the rest of his children had been dating. Victor almost felt like, okay, well, Chelsea's kind of good enough for Victor in a way, and so I don't know why Adam feels like he had to choose between one or the other. And I don't know when the relationship with Sharon was taken off the table. Like, that's another reason. Just the whole thing feels convoluted, and I don't understand it as well. I don't know why he has to choose, but Jack gave him some really good advice. He says, you know, unfortunately, you're gonna have to kind of move on. I've been in your situation where the woman I loved was pregnant with another man's child, i.e. Phyllis and Nick. And Jack said, I'm just gonna tell you from experience, wanting that baby to be yours doesn't make it so. Oh, big surprise! Madam whatever, the fortune teller, Madam whoever, shows up at the coffee house selling flowers, and Chelsea bumps into her, and because she had this experience last week where the fortune teller kind of guessed that she was pregnant and guessed about the father, Chelsea practically falls over herself to get a reading from this woman, and the fortune teller tells her everything that she didn't want to hear. Tells her that the father wants to be involved and the father loves you, and the fortune teller is basically describing Adam. I hate this so much. I hate the fortune teller. It's so, I don't even like having to say it. It feels cheap to me, but the fortune teller is telling her all these things that are describing Adam, and Chelsea's denying. And it's like, why is Chelsea even taking this to heart? How this fortune teller is just doing like a cold read on her. I mean, like maybe the fortune teller watches Y&R. That's all she has to do is watch Y&R to know what's going on with Chelsea. It was so fake. So fake. But Chelsea has created a lie despite... I mean, her mother is even telling her, don't do this. She decides she's going to move forward. She has to go have an ultrasound. And oh no, she realizes, crap, I'm lying about the date of conception. And the baby is going to be bigger than it should be. And Dylan's going to realize that because Dylan is so happy to be involved in this child's life. He wants to be a dad so much. He wants to be there for every step. He wants to go to the ultrasound. He wants to see the baby on the screen. And they do that. Chelsea and Dylan go to get the ultrasound together. Chelsea's totally nervous the whole time that the doctor's going to say something to reveal to Dylan about the conception date. And Dylan's just so blissfully ignorant. He's so adorable, just counting the baby's fingers while he's looking on the screen, and he's got the picture from the ultrasound, and he's looking at it like, oh, that's my kid. And it's just too bad that he's getting suckered. He's such a sweet, sweet guy, and it's just too bad. There was also this moment where Chelsea and the doctor were alone together for a minute, and Chelsea told the doctor, yeah, the father and I are not really together, so if you could just not tell him how big the baby really is, I would appreciate it. Yeah, that's not suspicious. You didn't even have to say that. You could have just said, I'm not together with the father, so can we just keep this confidential? Or you didn't have to let Dylan come along. Chelsea is... She is walking on a burning bridge. It's about to fall. Adam, before he had the conversation with Jack and kind of decided to back off, he goes to the hospital. I think Anita told him that, Chelsea's mom told him that she was at the hospital getting the ultrasound today. So Adam kind of shows up there, and there was this weird time skip. Like, we see Adam in the hallway outside of the doctor's office, and then the next thing you know, like, it's the next show and he's at home in his condo. Those are little things that kind of bother me about the show. I hate it when they do time skips because it throws me off. All of a sudden I'm like, did I miss an episode, or was this the wrong date? Where am I? I hate that. But they had Adam basically reveal that he had gone to the hospital and tried to bribe the doctor unsuccessfully to get information about the conception date. I would have liked to have seen that, thank you, rather than just mentioning it in hindsight. But Adam, he knows that something's up, but I think he also wonders how much of it is in his head, and he did open up to Victor a little bit as well, you know, because Victor had said, why are you so concerned about Chelsea's baby? And, you know, Adam, it's pretty obvious, because he loves her and he wishes that was their baby. They lost a baby together, but Victor tells him that maybe he needs to move on, but even kind of in a non-Victor typical way, says maybe you need to start letting people in. You're not going to learn to love anybody again unless you let people in, which is so very true. And I thought, well, Victor's kind of telling him to date, sort of, right? But anybody but Sharon. So if he's telling her to date, or telling Adam to date, I think it seems like Chelsea and Dylan are kind of having their relationship. It seems like Nick and Sharon might possibly be getting together soon, which even though Nick assures Avery that everything is still fine with their relationship, my gut instinct is saying I've seen a lot of interaction between Adam and Avery this week. Are we headed toward an Adam and Avery hookup? Chloe wants to sell Crimson Lights. It's not altogether a bad idea. I'm tired of hearing about Kevin and Chloe's money problems. Why wouldn't you just sell it if it's not making you money? You got $400 in your bank account and you're still holding on to this, you know, to this restaurant when it's making you lose money. It's not making you money. So Chloe has the idea of selling it, which is a great idea. And then out of nowhere, Dylan walks in saying that he's interested in buying it. So he's like, first of all, like, where are you getting this money, Dylan? Apparently, when he sold his father's construction business, got the money from that, and now he's interested in running the coffee house that he's never run before. Like, I like Dylan, okay? But I'm not so sure about handing over our Crimson Lights to a new character. Maybe I'm being a purist or something, but give Dylan on the boulevard. Why didn't they let him buy that place? If anybody is gonna buy Crimson Lights on the show right now, I wish Sharon would have bought it. Sharon and Nick started the coffee house together. It would make complete sense. She has nothing else going on in her life right now. It would be beautiful if Sharon bought the coffee house. Or, you know, even, there's gotta be other options. But I'm just like, it fundamentally, and this is a tangent, but fundamentally I feel like one of the problems with the show right now, for me, is way too much of a focus on the new characters. It's all about Dylan and Avery and Chelsea and Tyler and Leslie. Those are new characters. I want to see my classics. And if you want to focus on new characters, you need to pepper them in. But you gotta somehow, YNR, satisfy your new viewers with as well as your veteran viewers. Like, you can't just push us to the side and not give us the characters that we want, especially not after the death of Jeanne Cooper and Michelle Stafford leaving the show. Like, you need to focus in on the cores. I like Dylan. I genuinely do like him. But it's getting to be a little bit much. I'm sorry. Tangent over. Now, okay, Kevin finds out that Chloe's trying to sell the place, and he's sort of reasonably upset. Chloe probably didn't have the right to go and sell that asset without him, but Kevin wasn't thinking about Chloe when he was out robbing houses and then letting her take the blame for the whole thing. So this relationship is doomed. They have financial troubles, and Chloe's trying to find a solution to it, and Kevin seems incapable of having a logical thought. Like, is it totally out of the question that maybe you would sell the coffee house and then Kevin, I don't know, maybe get a job? He mentioned this week, well, what do you want to do, get a second job? And she's like, well, you're already on probation or doing time or work service or whatever it is, but that doesn't mean that you can't sell the coffee house and get another full-time job. Whatever work you're doing at the police station is certainly not going to take up 40 hours a week. Sell the tank and coffee house and get another job, but sell it to Sharon. And the other thing that I thought was weird was that Kevin and Chloe were talking about, you know, Chloe said something like, the days of the indie coffee house are kind of gone. And I thought, well, crap. Does that mean that they're going to do something with the coffee? Like, is the coffee house going to go away? Like, even if Dylan buys it, is he going to turn it into something else? It just feels like, I don't know why I'm on this rant, but it does feel to me like the new writers, the new brass at Y&R could not wait to get their hands on the old sets. Like, they burnt down the ranch, they gave new crappy restaurants, they redid Billy and Victoria's house. Like, they're changing the total look of the show. And you gotta leave some things the same. Like, you can't rip down everything. I mean, what are they, if they do something horrible to Catherine's house, I will flip my freaking lid. Like, I need some things to stay the same, okay? And while I'm at it, just because I can't seem to get off of this rant, have you guys noticed that all of our classic music is gone now? We used to have, like, there used to be songs that I knew, like, as soon as that music came up, I was like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to feel right now. Like, there was these classic, like piano melodies or whatever they were. They're gone now. We have all new music on the show. I listened to the show this week and I was like, I'm gonna see if there is any of the classic music on this week, and I don't remember hearing any of it, and that does bother me. I don't know why I'm so irritated right now, but it came up. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Let's get back to the Chloe and Kevin thing, because Chloe's trying to find a solution to their financial problem. Kevin is thinking about going on another crime spree. He brings it up. She smacks him in the head and he says, oh, I was just kidding. But whatever. He's still talking about it. He's still thinking about it. How many more times are you going to forgive him? Now, toward the end of Friday's show, Delia comes to the coffee house and Delia's little friend calls on the phone and says that her favorite doll is missing. Chloe asks Delia if she knows where it is, says no, hangs up, goes to look in Delia's backpack, and there's the favorite doll. So now Delia is stealing too. Obviously, this is an idea that she's got or picked up on from Kevin, or the conversations between Chloe and Kevin. Chloe, how many more reasons do you need to leave Kevin? Like, why is she still with him? This week, Lauren goes to Phyllis and kind of begs her to talk to Michael on her behalf. Lauren was kind of making it sound like Phyllis is the only one who can save their marriage. Like, this is my last-ditch effort. Only you, Phyllis, can talk Michael into not leaving me now. Well, Phyllis and Michael have not been close for quite some time. They really aren't that close anymore. Ever since Michael tried to prosecute her, their relationship kind of fell apart. So I was surprised that that even happened. It was awkward between Phyllis and Lauren. Phyllis pulled out of Lauren. Phyllis ticks me off too. Phyllis pulled out of Lauren. She wanted to know who it was that Lauren was having the affair with, acting like she wasn't going to get all judgmental. And then as soon as Lauren revealed it, Phyllis was like, really? That guy? Just, Phyllis is not the sensitive friend that you needed, Lauren. I don't know what made you think that she was going to solve your problems, but they left it, and Phyllis, I guess, agreed to talk to Michael, or I don't know, but she instead went directly to Carmine. And it was very tense between those two. Phyllis is sitting there in this dress with a slit all the way up her leg. She's showing legs from here to Yaya, and Carmine's behind the bar like he just sees the legs walking up, and he's looking at her, and he kind of starts flirting a little bit, and Phyllis is like, yeah, that's not going to work with me. I'm here as in one of a long line of people to tell you to stay away from Lauren. They're my best friends. And Carmine pretty much tells her, look, if it's over, then you need to tell her that, because she's still biggity boo, when she's not. Carmine keeps texting Lauren, and from everything that we're seeing, she doesn't seem to be reciprocating. She seems like she wants to be completely done with him. She wants to save her marriage. And now, the more awkward thing is that it seems like Fen and Carmine are the ones that are having the affair now. Because last week, Lauren and Michael told Fen to stay away from Carmine, and so at the beginning of the week, Fen was trying to blow Carmine off, trying to be like, my mom and dad said I shouldn't hang around you because of what you did to Chloe, and Carmine just smoothly talked his way right out of it, just, you know, hey, that was the old me, man, and this is the new me, and if I was a bad guy, would I have broke up that fight that you got into? Apparently that's another thing that happened off screen, was that Fen got jumped last week, and Carmine pulled the bullies off of him. We didn't see that, right? I didn't see that unless I missed something. And so Carmine, that's his way of getting back into Fen's good graces. Carmine has this way of making people feel like they owe him. Oh, I did this for you. You know, I saved you from those bullies, so I must be a good guy. Or, Lauren, I listened to your problems, so I must be your friend. And it's all so self-serving in the end, because Fen starts telling Carmine the problems that's going on with his parents. Fen, the poor kid, has really no one to talk to. His whole reputation, his whole life has been trashed by Summer. And now he's got no one to talk to. Everything is horrible at home. He's gotten beat up. The kid's bruised and bloody. And Carmine's the only person he feels like is taking an interest in his life. And so he tells Carmine about his parents and their problems and asks Carmine's opinion. And Carmine just finds a way to suggest that Lauren and Michael should just break up without suggesting it. He kind of says, you know, you're a big kid. If your parents aren't going to be together, then they shouldn't be together, and they shouldn't be together just for your sake. You can handle it. And so that kind of got inside of Fen's head, and Fen texts both Michael and Lauren at the same time, tells them to come see him. And first of all, he texts, this is a total side note, but I'm good at that today. Fen texts Lauren and says something like, I need you to come to the coffee house, 911. If my kid ever texted me 911 for anything that was not a 911, I would whoop his butt. That was not a 911 situation, okay? But anyway, Lauren and Michael rush to the coffee house because they can't keep their marriage together, but the one thing they do agree on is they want their son to be happy, and they're having a hard time putting their own problems aside to focus on him, but he's really the only reason that they're staying together. And Fen says to them, I don't want that. I can tell that you guys can barely stand to be in the same room together. And if that's the case and you're only staying together for me, don't. Because I'm going to be just fine. And so Fen absolved them. Fen was their only reason for staying together, and now that's been removed. So Michael takes it to heart. I don't think he was expecting that, but he, decides, he kind of goes back to the apartment and talks to Lauren and says, well, Ben's kind of right, and I'm ready for a divorce. And she really tried to convince him not to go. She tried to almost have an intimate moment with him. She tried to kind of kiss him, and he grabbed her kind of hard and got up in her face and was shaking her. I mean, real subtly, but he could, like, when they zoomed out, he was kind of like grabbing her arm pretty hard, and he was, shaking her just a little bit, I think because he was shaking, and he was just saying, how can I forget this? What if the roles were reversed? What if I went out and I was kissing on another woman and I was laying in her with bed? How would you feel? And it's true. It's true. So he lets her go, and he kind of walks away. Now he's really leaving. I don't blame him at this point. I mean, I'm very forgiving in a relationship, but infidelity would be the one thing I would not accept. So I can't blame him for wanting to leave her. They were my favorite couple on the show, but good Lord, it seems like that's all becoming over now because Michael is packing his bags. He's putting his shirts and ties into a suitcase, and he's ready to leave. And just as he's about to walk out the door, Lauren tries one more time. She says, just give me 30 days. Let's try to give me 1 month to fix this. And Michael's not biting, and she negotiated down. All of a sudden she's like, how about one night? Just give me 1 night. Just sleep on it for 1 night. Well, I'm sorry, you should have thought about all this before, Lauren. I wish it didn't take all of this to make you realize that you wanted your marriage. It's just it's unfortunate because the damage has been done. I still contend that someone's going to kill Carmine. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but at some point down the road. At the very end of Friday's show, we again saw Carmine looking at his cell phone where he's taking a picture of Lauren lying there in bed. Just how it's such a violation on so many levels that she's lying there in bed, totally unsuspecting, sleeping, I suppose, and he takes a picture. What a sleaze bag. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but my instinct kind of says, well, maybe because Fen and Carmine are all buddy-buddy now, I wonder, and they're texting back and forth, I wonder if Fen's going to somehow get a hold of Carmine's phone and see the picture of his mother lying naked in his, or not naked, but lying in Carmine's bed. Or why would that guy have it on his phone? I think Fen might see that, and I just think it's all going to explode for him. The one person he thought he could trust is not trustable, and I wonder if in a long line of events that's just going to be Fen's last straw. Tracy is coming off as a real busybody in Jack and Billy's life. She wants to get up in there and give them advice, and neither of them want it. Nobody wants to have their life judged by someone else. I mean, especially when, why is Tracy in Genoa City anyway? There was an interaction between Jack and Tracy and Billy. Jack's trying to pawn Tracy off on Billy. Like, Jack's tired of the interfering, so he wants Tracy to go live with Billy for a while. But Billy picks up on something in Tracy and says, what's going on? Like, why are you here and why aren't you at home? Is there something more going on? And that might be the case. Maybe she's having problems at home with Steve and she's come to kind of butt into Jack and Billy's life. But I wanted just to quickly note that I did appreciate the little scene between Lauren and Tracy. Tracy kind of ran into Lauren outside of Phyllis's apartment. I'm gonna sneeze. I suppressed it. Excuse me. But Tracy runs into Lauren and they have this little interaction together where Lauren takes the time to, again, apologize to Tracy and say, you know, I kind of understand what the other side of bullying looks like now. Way back in the day, I imagine we all know that Lauren used to mercilessly make fun of Tracy, calling her fat, and they had a really a memorable feud. And Lauren said, you know, I'm sorry that I did that to you, and Tracy admitted that, you know, she's an adult now, things are different, but she also said, you know, it never totally goes away. It gets in you, that someone putting you down can really, in your weaker moments, kind of take over and you remember that. So, you know, at first I thought, Lauren doesn't have to keep apologizing. She's already apologized to Tracy on many occasions, but I thought it was nice kind of bringing the bullying storyline full circle, and they both kind of said that they were glad the bullying thing has, you know, gotten more attention in recent years because Lauren was the original bully. And so it was nice to see them talking as friends and kind of reconciling that, and Tracy telling Lauren, you know, it's never too late to be a better person. Avery approached Leslie this week and says, as the only other lawyer in town, what do you think about starting a business of our own? They're both kind of bemoaning the fact that they're working in corporate environments. Avery is tired of working at Adam's behest, and Leslie thinks maybe she and Neil are spending a little too much time together working at Jabot. So Avery makes a suggestion that they'll start a business together, but I'm like, well, running your own business isn't going to give you any more free time. Running your own business is very, very time consuming. So I wonder if Avery and Leslie decide to go into business together. I'd like to see it because I like the idea of a partnership, but at the same time I'm thinking like you know, Baldwin and Christine. What was the name of Michael and Christine's firm? Williams and Baldwin, maybe, or Baldwin and Williams or something. Like, I like the idea of them, you know, being together in business, but I wonder if inadvertently they're going to both end up putting the nail in their relationships from working on this. Anyway, just one more tiny thing I wanted to mention is, did you guys notice that Kane got a new intro in the credits this week? I thought he deserved it because he got shafted a little bit in his intro because it included Lily. They sort of threw in an old scene of him in bed with Lily, and he deserved to have his own. I think they did it originally probably because Crystal Cleo didn't have her own title. So I wonder if they threw that in there just to sort of appease both Lily and Kane. But Daniel Goddard, I always want to call him Michael. I don't know why, but Daniel Goddard deserved his own opening credit, and he looks really good in both of them. So anyway, back to the storyline. In order to try to squash the budding romance that's going on with Lily and Tyler, Lily tells Tyler she'll quit the company if he'll come back and continue to work on the fashion launch. So she's poised to quit, and Neil has tried to hire Devon to replace her. We know that Tyler's not going to be hitting on Devon the way he hits on Lily, and the surprise was that Devon tells Neil Tucker has offered him a job in London. So Devon is stuck with this choice of, do I stay in Genoa City and kind of work at Jabot, be with my real father, the only man I really consider a father, or do I go off to London with this amazing job offer? Because Tucker had offered him, I'm sure, lots of perks and a salary, and it's in the music business, which is what Devon's forte is. So Devon has this decision. By the way, Roxy, his girlfriend, not happy at all about him going to London and not really discussing it with her, so there's some tension there. Meanwhile, since Lily thinks she's leaving the fashion company, her and Tyler decide that they're going to have a little bit of a last hurrah. Kane calls Lily, tells her that he's going to Chicago on business, so she thinks she's going to, and the kids are at a babysitter, so she thinks she's going to have the whole evening to herself, and Tyler talks her into going to get a drink. But what she doesn't know is that Kane's not going to Chicago. Kane is planning a surprise birthday party for her. Sorry, but Kane, the surprise is gonna be on you. Because Lily goes to the restaurant with Tyler, and she's drinking wine, and she starts to get a little tipsy, so much so that Tyler has to kind of bring her home, and Lily and Tyler fling open the door to her apartment. They're kind of arm in arm, or he's got his arm around her, and everybody in her family is at the house for this surprise birthday party. Kane, Devon, Neil, Leslie, Roxy, they're all there. She flings open the door, and everybody's just about to yell surprise when Kane gets an eyeful of Lily and Tyler kind of arm in arm, and Lily's drunk. It was the worst surprise, or best, I don't know, ever, because like immediately it was just this dead silence in the room. Okay, everybody, that is our Y&R chat for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you feel good about the show right now, and that you leave me your comments about the storylines, about the status, about casting updates, anything that you have to say. Please feel free to use the comment box below and leave me your thoughts. I love ya, and I'll be back next week to chat again. Okay, you guys. Bye!